This winter, people in Norman Wells N.W.T were outraged when their fuel costs soared. Heating homes suddenly became unaffordable. The town's mayor says it was due to years of disruptions to the town's supply chain, which relies on a winter road and barges in the summer. I sat down with Mayor Frank Pope when we traveled to Norman Wells last week to check in on how the community is doing. Here's our conversation from Friday. So let's just start with an update on the town. How is everyone doing? We know that there was some big cost of living problems in the winter. So coming through all of that, how are people doing now?
People are kind of stabilized. They got over that hump of the high fuel prices. Groceries are still expensive. Gasoline's still expensive. But I think people are a little more comfortable now. I think there's still a lot of worry about Imperial Oil, whether their tenure in the town, how much longer that's going to be, because that could be a big effect on the community. But all in all, I think people have sort of got over the hump of the sort of the bad days, the high cost, especially the heating fuel. That was the one that got people mostly. But then the groceries, the store, and then now we've got barge service this year, and the barge rates are very, very expensive and very high compared to what we were used to in the past. The one positive though was the winter road lasted all winter, which is kind of unusual sometimes. And a lot of kudos, I guess, to N.W.T government infrastructure. They put money into it, they constructed it in good shape, and they maintained it in good shape. So it was able to carry the loads right through till the end of shipping season. And I think everything came into all the communities other than the school at the Clover Lake. And I'm not sure whether that school is going to come in on a barge this year and be maybe left here for winter road travel. I'm not sure. But that was the one thing that we know in this region that was missed.
So you'd mentioned, the winter road having a really long season all winter. This year, barging is also very weather dependent, and these things are affected by climate change. So how do you imagine Norman Wells continuing to adapt to these new realities we're facing?
Climate change is the biggest problem we got. We've been watching it for 15 years. People in the south are just starting to catch on now, I think. 2019, the 1st of March, during the winter road season, 10 above. That was the end of the winter road season, and a great many people, including the truckers and freight haulers, were stranded south. They couldn't get in here. So that was a bit chaotic, and that's what we're worried about. So that brings me up to my pet project. Build the damn highway as soon as you can. Let's get the environmental assessment finished. I heard positive vibes from our Premier this morning on CBC Radio after his meeting with Carney, that I think the N.W.T's top project is to get the Mackenzie Valley Highway in to Norman Wells, and I think even eventually to Inuvik. That's what I'm hearing, because that's our future. We can't rely on the river. We can't rely on winter roads, climate change. BC is in drought. They also have dams on the Peace River. So unless we get a good flow every year from the Athabasca system, we're in trouble. People down south are just not catching on to what's going on up here. And I'm hoping that we can, through the town's advocacy programs, we do a lot of interviews down south. We're just being as proactive as you can to try and let Canada know what we're up against here.
You had mentioned some other conversations you were hoping to have about creating a national dialogue for municipalities based on the local state of emergency during the cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that project, what you're hoping to talk about and achieve with municipalities across Canada.
It's kind of oddball that a small little community is going to trying to take the lead on this. But what we've noticed over the last couple of years, we've had our state of emergency. Many other municipalities across Canada have states of emergency. A lot of them to do with food and homelessness and that type of thing. So when we declared our emergency, it was for basically cost of living resupply. Then I looked across Canada this summer, the fires. They are emergencies. People losing their homes, people being forced out into other strange areas because there was no place to stay at home. Then I remember the floods in Hay River, Fort Simpson. They are emergencies. So maybe a lot of us, maybe we were a little maybe selfish by saying we are in an emergency situation, but at that time we were. The cost of living, $6, almost $5.50 for a litre of fuel to heat your house. That's an emergency. So what we're going to try and do is meet with the municipal governments, federal, territorial, provincial, and say, let's set up a category of emergencies. What is number one priority? 2, 3, 4, 5. So that then we'll have an idea, as I said, coast to coast to coast, on what emergencies and what support they can get. Because if we have an emergency in Norman Wells, we go to the territorial government. They got no money, so they got to go to the feds. And what we're saying is, let's get a process that we will know in a small community if we're online, if we're in a good position because we think we've got an emergency. So it's rather than have to talk and beg and go on your hands and knees and ask for help, there'll be a process, document the process, legislated if it has to be, on what is an emergency for a small community, a province, or the country.